Hi everybody, this is Chris from Failgrout Productions, and I have a bit of a cold open here because today we're going to be talking about a line of figures that I just painted a lot of, and I want to review, and that is Pendraken's 10 millimeter World War One line. Now, if you followed this channel at all, you know A, I like 10 millimeter, and B, I paint a lot of Pendraken because I think Pendraken is pretty much the go-to when it comes to 10 millimeter. There's very few things that they don't have. So just to show you that I'm qualified to talk about their 10 millimeter line, I'm just going to have to show you. Here's my as yet unbased early French army, and here's some more French that you can see. I have to move these because there's going to be more. Then we've also got, what do we have here? Here's a project I'm working on. Here are some Russian Civil War Ukrainians, Russian Civil War Reds, Bulgarians, which Pendraken doesn't even make. I'm just using some Russians for them. Romanians and Austro-Hungarians. On top of that, we have some Russians over here. Again, that's for a project. And then on top of that, about 1,000 figures I just finished a commission for, including late war French, all here, including some of their tanks and more tanks and some British carts. Speaking of Brits, we've got we've got an entire tray full of Brits here that I need to pack up for my client in a couple of days, including tanks and artillery and just lots and lots and lots of infantry and cavalry. And then, of course, you need someone for those French and Brits to fight. So we've got some Germans, including their A7V tank. I don't remember off the top of my head. So I hope you know that when it comes to especially the paintability score, I painted a lot of these, and so I think I know what I'm talking about with them. I'm gonna have to get these out of the way because I literally don't have enough room here on my table for all of them at the same time, and I'm just gonna leave these late war French here. So just as a reminder of my review scale, I will be reviewing things using the US academic system of A, B, C, D, F, occasionally an A+, and then the four categories are quality of sculpts, 40%, cost, 20%, cleanup assembly, 20%, paintability, 20%, and then occasionally a 10% miscellaneous score. So going in here to look at these Pendraken, again, I'm just going to have the French to use as my example because I can't fit everything here. First, this is not part of the score, but we're going to be looking at the scale. And that scale is almost exactly 10 millimeter to the eye. I went through and I measured a couple of them. Some of them are a 9, some of them are 10, 10 and a half, 9 and a half. So pretty much as spot on to 10 millimeter to the eye as you can really possibly get within the restrictions of hand sculpting things. Starting with the quality of sculpts, I'm going to give it a B. In fact, when it comes to Pendraken, I pretty much always know, with very rare exception, that the sculpts are going to be good, if not better. I have very rarely gotten bad sculpts from Pendraken. I wouldn't even call their bad sculpts bad. I would just call them fine. But they're usually really good. And these are solid B, good variety, especially if you want to mix packs. So for an example, here's some late war French infantry. They come with 3 different sculpts. They come with a guy kind of marching with a bayonet. They come with an officer with a pistol, and then they come with a guy standing and firing. But I don't have them right in front of me, but they also have options with backpacks. They also have options kneeling and standing or marching. So if you want a practically infinite amount of variety or combinations, you can really do that. So that's a solid B for quality of sculpt. Cost, when it comes to cost for Pendraken, I kind of look at them as the standard, a solid B. At the time of filming, Pendraken is about 680 pounds, and that's with the VAT, the VAT. If you're an American, obviously you're paying higher shipping, but you're also paying no VAT, and I can't account for everywhere you are in the world. But that's 681 in pounds for 30 infantry or 15 cav. So that's pretty solid. Whenever I'm going to buy a 10 millimeter project and I'm comparing one company to another, I always kind of compare, well, how much would this cost at Pendraken versus how much would it cost elsewhere? Is it higher or lower elsewhere? For cleanup assembly, that's a solid B. There's usually minimal cleanup. There's minimal flashing. The only thing I occasionally have to do is sometimes there's a very minor mold slip, and usually you see it more on figures that have flat hats. You could see it a little bit, just a little bit on this figure where you could see the back half of the figure and the front half of the figure. Oh, this one's more clear. There's just a little bit of difference. And most of these I would have sanded that down. Apparently with that guy, I kind of missed it. But on the rest of the figure, you can't really tell, at least on these. So overall, a solid B for cleanup and assembly. Usually most you have to do is just a little bit of flash here or there and then sand the bottom of this little plug base so it's flat. Paintability, I give these a solid A. There's not too many details, and of course a lot of that is dependent on the uniform. World War I uniforms were not particularly complicated. A couple of pouches, belts. The hardest thing was the webbing, which to be perfectly honest was optional, but I like to go that extra mile because I'm crazy. But paintability, a solid amount of detail, but not too much. If we look at this, these are the Senegalese. They've got, I'm not sure exactly what kind of hat that is, but you can see they've got the rifle strap, bayonets, canteen, little bread bag, and then the cross belt. So looks pretty good there. Even the puttees, you can see the puttees. Sorry, the camera's having trouble focusing. And then the last thing I'll talk about for these, I'm going to throw some miscellaneous in there. And I'm going to give my very first A+ in the miscellaneous category for the World War I line for Pendraken, because Pendraken's World War I line is just absolutely enormous. If you check out their website, they've got pretty much every single country you could possibly imagine involved in World War I. Anzacs, Austro-Hungarians, Belgians, British, all sorts of the forces that fought in East Africa, the French, the Germans, the Italians, the Middle East, which includes the Ottomans, Arab forces, Brits in the Middle East. They have World War I Polish, they have Russians, they have Serbians, they have the United States, they have some miscellaneous stuff. You can also pull in from the Russo-Japanese War stuff, obviously mostly for the Russians, or you can pull from the Russian Civil War. You can use the World War I stuff in the Russian Civil War. A lot of Russian Civil War guys got Adrian helmets and French uniforms and British uniforms, so you could easily use this all. There's just so much variety. If I click on the British alone have how many codes? 68 codes. And this isn't World War II, where a lot of those are going to be tanks. We've got wiring parties. We've got two different kinds of Highlanders, one in Glengarry and one with a different kind of hat. We've got tank crewmen standing outside the tanks. We've got traction engines. We've got railway guns, heavy artillery crews, motorcycles with sidecars, Royal Naval Division. In fact, I have some of those painted up somewhere around here. Rifle bombers, grenadiers, infantry with helmets marching, infantry in helmets kneeling. It's just practically endless. So for World War I, I'm just going to give that an A+ in the miscellaneous. And that brings us, if we take quality of sculpts was a B, cost was a B, cleanup assembly was a B, paintability was an A, and miscellaneous was an A+. This brings us an average of 88%, which is our very first B+. Although I don't give pluses on the regular component scores, they do average out in the end. And that's generally, when I go to Pendraken, I know I'm getting a B+ experience, which is a really solid, above average, good experience. I'm always going to be happy with the figures. I'm happy with the ones I painted for myself. I know my client is happy with these. The tanks, although simple, they've got panel lines on them that you can paint. So a decent amount of detail, and very happy with their World War I line. If you have any questions about their World War I line or anything else, please drop them down in the comments below. Let me know if you have any questions, and everybody make sure you enjoy the rest of your day.